right, good morning. Sorry, I'm making an adjustment so I can see myself. There we go. All right, good morning. Good to see everybody this morning, and I hope that you are having fantastic Sunday. It's good to see everybody for sure. Back to our normal venue on a Sunday, which is nice. Mic volume is low. How do we adjust that? What about that? Does that help? The automatically adjust the mic volume thing. Is it automatically adjusting? Okay, good. All right. I was like, I can manually slide it, or I can do the automatic one. Sometimes I don't trust the automatic one, but if it's working, it's working. So keep me in the know. All right, couple things real quick. Number one, just wanted to share, because I believe in transparency, right, and honesty in this space. Yeah, new channel, who dis? Yeah, that's a Google Meet conversation or a behind the scenes conversation. That's not a forward facing conversation. So, but I'm glad that y'all are here. I'm glad that we've made kind of a little bit of a transition. I know that's a little bit of a challenge, kind of frustrating. All right, a couple of things real quick. First, I appreciate this community for a lot of different reasons. Partially because it has been such a vital part of my spiritual journey. The handful of highly faithful and connected folks that have been here pretty much since day one has been huge. And I am forever grateful for that. Last couple of months have been tough. And it has been a little bit roller coastery. But I am really grateful for modern medicine and mental health care. And I know we talk about that in this space in an obviously very positive light, but I want to encourage you to be able to take advantage of those things in your world. I want to encourage you that if you are not having good conversations about that, if you're not pulse checking that, you should be. And there is no shame in needing help and support. All of that to say this. Last few weeks, I've been kind of going through some medication changes. Apparently, you can build up a tolerance, and I think that's probably true with like anything, right? But apparently you can build up a tolerance to antidepressants and medications like that, SSRIs in particular. And so I started getting in a pretty rough funk, pretty negative headspace, and couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I went up on my medication, and then it just seemed to kind of get worse. And I was like, man, what is happening? Anyway, through some really good conversations with my doctor. Um, she was like, Jeremy, I think you built up a tolerance for SSRIs. Like I think your body has built up a tolerance for Zoloft, so it's just not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And so we started kind of weaning off that to approach other options. Anyway, uh, the Lord the Lord said, "Let there be Wellbutrin," and it was good. And so this is like the first week, probably in 3 months, that I'm just like, wow. Like, I mean, it takes time for those meds to kind of kick in. And so we started making that transition about a month ago. And, they say 4 to 6 weeks. And it was just like one day I woke up and I was like, I enjoy the sunshine. It's just like, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So I say all of that to say this. I am very grateful for y'all sticking alongside, kind of dealing with some ups and downs, dealing with the chaos of my job, sick kids, just all the different things that I have to deal with on some kind of regular basis. I am very thankful that you're here. And so, anyway, today is a good day. And I find myself extremely grateful for this community today. And I find myself extremely thankful that we get to do this journey together, and I don't feel like I'm by myself, which is awesome. So, you are valued and you are loved more than you know. And so I just wanted to share that with you, kind of give you some background, kind of give you some context, some backstory, kind of what's been going on in my world, because I think it's important, and I trust you. So, it's been good to kind of get on the other side of that. What is it? Oh, sit down, kids. I have some news. Yeah. No, positive, positive. I guess I probably should have led with that. Like, it's not. I could see how that probably went some different directions in your brain. No, we are not. Like, I'm not punting Speakeasy down the road or giving up on what we have here or anything crazy like that. I'm just, you know, just sharing that there's been some really good and positive changes for me and starting to come out on the other side of that, which is great. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, I could see how this could have gone a couple of ways. Uh, yeah. 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 It has been not fun the last 4 weeks, and Allie probably more acutely aware than anybody. She deals with my nonsense on the regular, or lack of communication, because I'm also bad about that. But y'all know that. Like, I'm awful at times, just because I'm always dealing with whatever's in front of my face. So anyway, yes. Oh no. No, Teresa, I'm not quitting. I love y'all way too much. I can't quit. Even through the craziness. Like, can't quit. So, but yeah, this was like, I say this week, probably just in the last couple of days. Like, what's wrong with you? Probably just the last couple of days, I have just like come out of this fog. It has been awful. I was not right. So I feel like all of those things are starting to kind of check out, which is good. So anyway, I appreciate everybody's patience and grace with me over the past several months. All right. I appreciate the conversation, but that is not why we're here. I'll quit centering myself now. All right, let me pull these notes up. I hope that y'all have had a good week as well. I hope that I hope this week ahead is a great one for you. I hope that the weather is nice where you're at. It has been really nice here. I know some of y'all in Mass and places like that, it takes a little longer to thaw. So hopefully that's happening for you and y'all are enjoying it. But all right. We're going to be 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Really common passage here that is very familiar for a lot of folks. Except Enid. Was the weather bad in Enid? I haven't really looked. Oh, that tornado. Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, that just registered. I was like, Enid. Yeah, it's not good. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Very common chapter, often known as the love chapter, right? It gives us these characteristics of what good love and kindness and compassion should look like. And I think a lot of times we use this at weddings, right? That is a really common space that we use that. And I think that's a good thing. But I don't think that it's just only talking about romantic involvement or romantic relationships or partnerships in that way. I think that it's talking about the greater concept of what love actually should look like and should feel like. And so I want to kind of read through some of this passage this morning. And I'm going to be kind of focusing more on the end of the chapter, but you're familiar. I think we're all fairly familiar with, the beginning of this, which is, the whole love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it doesn't brag, it doesn't insist on its own way, right? There are some really beautiful characteristics that are laid out here. Eugene Peterson in the Message says, love never gives up. Love cares more for others than itself. Love doesn't want what it doesn't have. Love doesn't strut. Love doesn't have a swelled head. It doesn't force itself on others. I think that's a really key point. It isn't always me first. It doesn't fly off the handle. It doesn't keep score of the sins of others. Doesn't reveal when others grovel. Takes pleasure in the flowering of truth. Puts up with anything. Trusts God always. Always looks for the best. Never looks back. But keeps going to the end. I think just the wisdom and incredible writing style and common common era writing and translation of this passage by Eugene Peterson just continues to transcend time and feed into contemporary language and all of those kinds of things. I think there's just something so innately beautiful beautiful and incredible in this. And I think it's so amazing to feel those things, and to see it written in a way that can connect with us in our current day. But I want to really pick up in verse 12. I want to pick up at the very end of this passage. Because there is so much familiarity with the beginning, and there is so much familiarity with the traditional version of that. Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't envy. All of those things, which is also beautiful language, extremely beautiful language. And I think it's a good reminder of what our love and our compassion and our grace and our humility should look like. But when we look later on in verse 12, it says this. It says, we don't see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist. But it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then. See it as clearly as God sees us, knowing him directly just as he knows us. But for right now, until that completeness, we have three things to do to lead us toward that consummation. Trust steadily in God. Hope unswervingly. Love extravagantly. And the best of the three is love. The traditional version of this says, and we have these three, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest is love. I think, unfortunately, for so much of contemporary, modern American evangelicalism, we walk right by this passage, and we don't realize how powerful these words are. Yes, faith matters. Yes, hope is important, and we've spent the last several weeks talking about hope. But love stands above everything else. And I think that there's a reason that we're given this passage like this. I was thinking of the same exact thing this week while I was writing. Yeah. For those of you keeping score at home, this is not the song about the Chattahoochee. Okay. I believe that there is something so deep and valuable in these last couple of verses. I think that it speaks to the reality of humanity. I think it talks about, in verse 12, why hope is a challenge and why faith is a challenge. And I don't think, although the call to our journey is hope and faith, those things hinge on something. They have a foundation. And they are built on top of that foundation. Because alone, they cannot stand. Hear me what I'm telling you this morning, friends. Hope and faith must have a foundation because they are not the foundation. And that may sound like the antithesis or counterintuitive to anything you've ever heard in any of your faith journey leading up to this. We are told, you're having trouble in your life, or you're depressed, or you're struggling because you don't have enough faith. you need to hope in God. You need to put your hope and your trust in God. You don't have enough faith. You don't believe hard enough. Your belief is not deep enough. You don't have enough, your prayer doesn't have enough hope and faith in it. Constantly being told that in those spaces. But it's impossible. Let me tell you this morning, friends, it is impossible to have faith and hope if we do not have a foundation that those things are built on. And this verse 12 and 13 almost work backwards. Because what it's saying is it's saying trust steadily in God, hope unswervingly, love extravagantly, but the best of those things, the greatest of those things, the most important of those things is love. And so, you kind of finish that in verse 13, and you can almost step back and say, therefore, because we don't see things clearly, because we are squinting in a fog, because we are peering through a mist, because the weather hasn't cleared, because we can't see God clearly, because we are waiting for that day of fruition, because we are hoping for that moment of clarity, because we are waiting for that, as Eugene Peterson says here, we are waiting for completeness. We are waiting for that moment when it all comes together. Because of that, therefore, can your faith truly be full? Can your hope truly be full? Now, I'm not saying that you don't think that it could be, or that eventually it should be. But this is why sanctification and salvation and our faith is a journey. Our faith is a journey. It is a process. It's saying, look, all of this, Paul is writing here, he's like, look, I get it. It's a struggle. It's a challenge. We can't see our lives and we can't see God the way that we desire to. But until that completeness, trust that God is doing something great. Hope desperately that God is good. But the best thing you can do is to love. The foundation of our faith and our hope is built on love. And we have talked a ton the last several weeks about faith and hope. But we would be remiss if we didn't step back and say, what is that built on? Because it's hard to see. Because we're in a mist. Because we're existing in a fog. I love this analogy, this alliteration of, we're squinting in a fog, right? Or illusion of squinting in a fog. I think about times when you're driving and fog is really heavy and you can barely see in front of you. Those moments are unsettling. Really dense, intense fog. When I lived in western Oklahoma, we used to have what they called freezing fog. And what it would do is it was basically like floating crystallized ice, right? Which fog is condensation, but it was like so cold that it was like crystallized, and you could watch it, and when it would pass trees, the trees would be like covered in ice. It was really fascinating. That is a wild place out there, by the way. All sorts of crazy stuff. Tumbleweeds, that's a real thing. But I think about that. I think about what it's like to drive in that, or really heavy snow, right? Like where you feel like you're in the Millennium Falcon, like there are just white dots just infiltrating your vision. It's pretty unnerving. It's pretty unsettling. And what Paul is writing here is he's saying this is what your life is like. And trying to see God, trying to see the finish line, trying to see the end is like squinting through fog. It is not going to be clear. And you are not going to see the end. And you're not going to be able to see the face of God all the time. And you're not going to be able to have this tangible understanding of what your faith should look like and what your hope should look like. Therefore, because you cannot have a tangible understanding of your faith and your hope, it has to have some kind of roots. It has to have something that it exists on to hold it up even when the wind is blowing and the chaos is happening. Because as we've talked about so many times in this space, there's not a question of if you will go through chaos. It is just when. When you go through chaos, your faith and your hope has to be built on a firm foundation, or it will collapse. It will fail you. And love is the answer. Patient, good, kind, passionate, compassionate love is the answer. Trustworthy, giving, not transactional. That was a hard one. Our relationships shouldn't be transactional. Our connections shouldn't be transactional. And when somebody comes up short, it's important to forgive. And when we forgive, we no longer hold that against them. These are hard attributes to carry, but these are the attributes of true love. And these are the things that your faith and your hope are built on. So if you want to have a good and firm faith, if you want to have good and fulfilling hope, then you must have love. You must have a real, decent, and compassionate love. It can't be put on. It can't be faked. It can't be pretend. It has to be extravagant. It has to match the criteria. So really the roadmap, and yeah, I love this. I do too. This is the thing that resonates with me here. When I look at this passage outside of the context of a wedding or, premarital coaching, it's so heavily used in those spaces, and it should be. It should be. But when I think about how it impacts our daily walk, our process, it's powerful. But this roadmap is laid out so beautifully here, because what's happening is what we're getting is, here are the characteristics of true and decent love. Here are the characteristics you must hold to love your neighbor well, to love your enemy well, to love yourself well. Here are the ways that you do it. Here's the things that you have to match up to. Here's the measuring stick. And if you want to have good faith, and if you want to have fulfilling hope, then you must have love. And here's how you achieve it. It's a complete ball. Like it's everything you need to find success in your faith journey. It is everything you need to find success in your relationships, not just your romantic ones, not just your ones at work and with your kids and with family and things like that. It is everyone. This is how you live a truly fulfilling life, friends. This is how you truly find healing and happiness. This is it. This is it. This is the answer. But for right now, until that completeness, until that moment where we can see God clearly and we have found the finish line, we have to trust steadily. We have to hope unswervingly. We have to love extravagantly. But the most important thing, the foundation, is love. Well, they were also created in the image of God. It's just those good characteristics are buried a little deeper, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta do a little bit of digging. But yes, I think any person or any human created by the hands of God deserves our love. Now, what I will say is that, Jesus, this is really fascinating because I was thinking about this week while I was kind of thinking about this, and it actually, this part actually hit the cutting room floor, so you're actually pulling something back into the notes. Jesus called us to love our enemies. But he never said to not have enemies. And that sounds like a pretty direct thing to say. Jesus called us to love our enemies, but he never said don't have enemies. It wasn't like you should love everyone so that you don't have enemies. That wasn't the call. There are going to be people who are wrong and hateful. Jesus had enemies. He had people that wanted to kill him. And they did. And I don't think he was real fond of them either. I'm pretty sure that frustration was a two-way street based on some of the things that he had to say. So the call is to love your enemies, not to not have enemies. But we are called to love them because they are created in the image, the likeness, and the goodness of God. And for that, they are worthy of love. For that alone. There's not one. There is not one. Jesus calling people a brood of vipers or whitewashed tombs, if you look at that in historical and cultural context, that is the verbal middle finger to people in that time. And Jesus constantly did that, I think my favorite insult, well, I don't know if I call it insult, but just call out, maybe insult, that Jesus did was, he said, you're unmarked graves. that people don't know that they've crossed. We've talked about that before here, but basically what he was saying is that you bring death. Because they believed in that culture, like if you crossed a grave, you were unclean. And if you were unclean and you died that way, you went to hell. And so basically what he was telling the religious elite at the time was like, you're bringing death to people. And they don't even know that you've brought death on them. Like you are so evil that you are bringing death on people, and you've manipulated them so heavily they don't even know that you are bringing death on them. Like, that's messed up. Like, I mean, that's heavy. Like, oh, you're killing people. Everything you're doing is wrong. Jesus had some of the best stuff, man. Like, I just feel like, unrelated, a conversation with him around the campfire, like, you know, when people are just sitting around the campfire, you're just ribbing each other, giving each other crap. Like, I feel like he had some zingers, you know, like just the way he popped off at the religious elite of the time. Like, I'm like pretty quick with it. Like, I imagine there were moments when they're just him and the disciples, and they're just giving each other garbage about whatever's happening, and he is just throwing zingers. Like, I don't know. I may be wrong. But I think this whole idea of Jesus that we have, where he's like just always sitting like with a glow around him, and, you know, just speaking holy things constantly, like, I don't know, man. He taught with enough sarcasm that I'm like, I bet behind the scenes, bro could mess you up. Yeah, you can't control if someone has it out for you. That is true. But you can't love them like Jesus does, and that's a thorn enough. Yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. You den of vipers, you brood of vipers. That's just, I mean, literally a lot of scholars believe that, like, with the way that was written, or the way that it was stated, was, I mean, really like a cultural FU, you know? And it was, you know, because Jesus never talked about, like, he never really talked about, like, bad language. He did talk about unwholesome talk, but I think that that's more from a standpoint of, like, connection and the way you're speaking about people and the way you're speaking to people. Like, you're not intentionally just degrading someone. So, yeah, I bet he was wild. Spit bars. Do y'all remember that YouTube channel? And it may still be a thing. I don't know. I just haven't looked in a long time. But Epic Rap Battles of History. I bet, and I'm sure there probably is one. Like, I just feel like they need to make a Jesus epic rap battle. It'd be wild. Yeah, community is either for everyone or no one. I love that. Um, yeah, that's right. That's right. Because if it is true community, it is for everyone. Now, that doesn't mean inside of the community that we all agree or that we all see everything eye to eye, but it is a place of safety and hope and good conversation. That's really ultimately what it's about. Epic rap battles of history. I still, to this day, will just, like, throw in, like, if somebody's talking about, like, I don't know, something with America or things like that, you know, or like the flag, or I don't know, like, occasionally I'll just be like, Eagle. And that is definitely from that, and only the cool kids catch that. But I do believe in loving your enemies, but I don't believe that everyone has earned the right to not be your enemy. It cannot be that old, Jay. What are we talking about? Gosh, I bet that... You know what? Never mind. I'm doing math in my brain about when I kind of like saw that with some friends, and I'm like, that was probably like 12 to 14 years ago. That's rough. You got called Ugg. That was pretty common for me working at the school, though. I get that. No, the ranting is good. This is what this space is designed for. Instead of showing up to a faith community space and just being talked at for an hour, this is a collective dialogue. And this is the kind of stuff we're here for. See, what did I say? Right on cue. Anyway, all right. That's what I got for you today. I hope that everybody has a fantastic rest of your week or weekend, and I hope that this week's not crazy. I'm going to be traveling this week for work. I'll be in the great state of Texas this week, but West Texas, so it's curb your enthusiasm. But I hope that everybody has a good week. I hope you have a safe week. I hope you have a week full of love and grace. And I hope that you build your faith and your hope on love. Yeah, storms are coming. All right, yes. Last bit of housekeeping. Midweek, Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 Central, 7 Eastern. There is a Google Meet link that hits on the Facebook and the Discord. The private Facebook group in the Discord. We don't publish that publicly just because, that's kind of a thing where, because it is an open forum, we want to make sure that people aren't going to get in there and be wild. So, anyway, Ricardo leads that every week. It's a good conversation. Go be a part of one or both, Tuesday and Wednesday. So pick one or pick both. Yeah, go be a part of that. All right. I love y'all. Love God, love people passionately. No strings attached. I will see you next week. Also, follow this YouTube channel or subscribe or whatever they say. Subscribe to the YouTube channel so that, sounds dumb. I'm literally saying this so to try to help, but it definitely sounds like the thing that they say, right? Subscribe and hit the notification bell. We are going to be live here moving forward, so I just want you to be able to get that little ding when it's time and we go live. All right. I love y'all. I'll see you next week.